Hello and welcome to Eat Your Backyard, my YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you're not already. Go ahead, hit the like button, thumbs up. It's really helpful. I did a lot. If you do. I just couldn't resist, despite the poor quality of my phone. By the way, 2021, getting a new phone. Just going through the math of whether it should be a Android or Apple. Probably going to be Apple this year. I am just so deeply happy with what's happening in my yard right now. Everything has changed. Everything has changed for the better. Now, for years, I've been having what I thought was pretty good success. Little did I know that I was on the precipice of success. That the abundance that is capable, that this yard is capable of, if I get a few little systems dialed in, is incredible. Look at these Tommy Atkins mangoes. Now, these are getting closer to being ripe. They're not ripe yet. Look at how many. There are so many that the whole branch is, I've never seen them tipping down. Now this year I think that the mangoes are going to touch the grass for the first time ever, being so heavy that they'll touch the ground. Tommy Atkins is just a championship producer of mangoes, and this is not the only those are fruiting. They are fruiting everywhere. And they always do fruit everywhere, but look at those mangoes swinging in the wind. You know what this is? This is like a magnet for your attention, for my attention. I can remember when having a mango tree was a really lofty, faraway goal for me. And it took many years to get to the point where I'm experiencing this, and it's so gratifying. In some way, it's like a victory of principles. It is a profoundly meaningful achievement for me. And it connects me to systems that are larger than me. Let's say. What does the flower say? It says to the bee, want to try my honey? I mean, what is YouTube? Right? It's the same idea. What are these mangoes? What is any person you've ever interacted with? It's the same general dynamic. And I'll share a story with you. My neighbor, good guy, Bucks fan, go Bucks. He started to make hot sauce. He gave me 2 hot sauces yesterday. I'm going to try them and make a video on the channel so you can all find out about them. Maybe he'll have a way you can get some. But, and this I think is about to be some very special hot sauce from my perspective, because he said, I saw your mangoes, man. I'm making hot sauce, and I'd like you to try some of these hot sauces, but also I'd love to make a mango hot sauce. And I just noticed that you have about 100 mangoes swinging in the wind on the top of that tree there. And so I said, yes, absolutely, kind sir. I will deliver a pile of mangoes to you and gladly sample the hot sauce that results. He grows all kinds of cool peppers in his backyard. Ghost, among others. He was telling me about several varieties. I won't try to list them. So these are destined for hot sauce. This is a Tommy Atkins hot sauce, but also some Funky Chicken Farm asked for some. I'm going to give them some mangoes. So this is going to be a lot of fun to give away the mangoes. I'll try to make some mango giveaway videos too. Yeah, so this is a Tommy Atkins mango tree. Copious producer, very easy to grow. It'd be my top pick for just a simple get in the game mango tree. The fruit quality is, it's average for a mango, but an average mango is pretty awesome. So I would not poo-poo it. But this is the kind you generally get in the grocery store for all the reasons I just listed. Easy to grow. Copious producer. It's like getting the hen that lays copious amount of eggs. That's the one you're going to find in the farm most of the time, if they're selling eggs. If you're selling mangoes, same idea. This is a Hayden mango tree. Old mango tree that I've had for a long time. Had to trim it back. It's gotten super woody. You don't want a trunk like this on a mango tree. Now I apologize for the state of my yard. I'm in the process of building a chicken coop. That's right, you heard it. Chicken coop. I made one live stream about the chicks moments ago, so you can go check that out if you'd like. And I'm clearing this area out to put the coop in. But this old tree is thick. I just cut it here. You can see it's already starting to grow back in healthfully. You would think a cut like this would devastate a tree like this. It's actually had cuts far bigger than this and recovered from it many times. Mango is a vigorous grower, and if you're feeding it like I am, absolute heroic quantities of very nutritious manure, then they're gonna get huge. But I was feeding it fish as the fertilizer for a long time, but now I switched over to bunny manure, which is incredible, and also vermiculture. I've been applying a lot of worm tea to all my plants, especially this mango tree. But the point is, you don't want to really this woody, but I also don't want to hurt it so badly by hat racking it. But I think I might actually have to at some point just reduce one of these limbs, the southern limb at least, way back. But the hidden mango. But here's the bottom line: this is an excellent mango, and they don't get as big as the Tommy Atkins. Get the sun so you can see it, but this is an Indian type of. Oh no! All right, well, live stream. That's what happens. Look at that. This mango, actually this big, is I like to call these counter ripened minis, but that'll ripen up beautifully on the counter. It's actually big enough that there's a nice little. You think a mango this size is like a small apple, but it'll ripen up beautifully on the counter. They just got big enough. That's the first mango I've harvested this season. It was by mistake. Let me put it right here. I'll it later. Look at this. There's my chicken coop. Well, it's got a ways to go. And then the third type of mango is my Edward. Take a look at that. It only set one fruit, but it had lots of attempts this year, which is the first year it ever did that. But it's got one mango. I mean, it's really pathetic when you compare the Edward to the just showering Tommy Atkins. And you can see it, we've had some others drop. We collect these up in buckets, but they drop because they, these branches can only support so many mangoes, so the tree will naturally drop them. And that's probably what happened over on that Hayden. It's just dropping some that it can't support with its roots. No problem. You just gather up these mangoes and put them right back into the composting system, which, by the way, is now more useful than ever. Started to put bedding in there. This was some I just threw in there to compost. Unlike the bunny manure, you need to compost the chicken manure, most people say, or at least let it dry in the sun. But yeah, you can see it's filled with banana leaves. I just chop up the leaves a bit and throw them in there, and it keeps compressing and compressing and compressing. I'm really amazed at that. It's like at some point it's going to have the mass of a star and ignite. I don't know how dense it can get, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to buy a pitchfork. That's not something you say probably every day. It's something everybody should say at some point in their life. I'm going to buy a pitchfork, and I'm going to turn these compost bins over. Pitchfork is really the tool you need to do that. And this is an example of organic return into the yard. So I'm going to be putting this back into the beds where I'm growing vegetables and so on a lot moving forward. But it takes about a year for this to set up, but then you've got basically gold, and you could look at it as gold. And I've got videos on how to make these very simple. By the way, throw a comment up in the chat if you're on the stream and have something to say. Look at that thing. You know what that is? Do you know what that is? It's a Carambola. It's a starfruit tree that I grew from a seed on the What You Got Growing On series. By the way, check that series out if you want to see how to grow stuff like this, but it's doing quite well. It survived the winter, and I put it in this shady spot because where I had it, there's a thing about gardening in Central Florida that I've discovered. When summer starts to happen, which is definitely early April in Florida, places with a southern exposure that grew vegetables very well during the winter, which is where I recommend you put your vegetable gardens in the winter time, is on the south side of a house, south side of a fence, somewhere protected from the north winds that has that sun exposure as it dips lower in the sky. That's great for the winter time. The sun's backing off in intensity, and then you'll find as the sun gets higher, I mean, it almost seems like the sun is directly overhead even this time of year, to be honest, and that's intense. So it'll just cook plants. It just cooks them, and if they're little, if they're vulnerable. So I move them into places that were pretty heavily shaded, but are now in the summertime much less. I mean, look, my hand here, getting sunlight. That's the stuff that you need. But it's thriving here. Now, if I can get it strong enough, then I'm going to keep it growing in the pot. That's the cool thing about growing these carambolas is they do well in a pot for quite some time, unlike others. I'll show you the Jamaican cherry tree that I grew in the What You Got Growing On series. I'm going to see this thing from seed to now. You can check it out. But look at this thing. I grew it in a pot, and that was one season, 2 seasons. Well, yeah, it was basically I planted it at the end. I planted it probably September, let's say, and so maybe 5 or 6 months. Incredible growth. But again, I've been hitting with bunny fertilizer, with worm tea, with all these great things. So from a seed, actually, this thing had grown as this thing had grown from a strawberry tree I had in my yard years ago, and the seed fell and sprouted. It will produce huge amounts of Jamaican cherries, or I call them cotton candy fruit. A lot of people around here call them cotton candy fruit. Official name for this tree is Montingia, depending on how you pronounce it. Very popular in Jamaica. I was going to give the standard spiel about this beautiful tree that I love so much. A very unique and cool plant. You should have one of these if you don't already. Let me know in the chat if you have this already. They are cold sensitive. It's true. They're kind of a tender, vegetative, I would say, plant, if that makes sense. They're a little soft. Their leaves are tender. They're vulnerable to wind damage. Whatever. I'm, by the way, not hung up on perfect leaves. It's cool when they happen, but more typically you're going to get something that's generally gnarly if you're growing it in a tough situation like I am, close to the ocean. So you just get things that are vigorous enough, and this is a vigorous grower, to say the least. It's also a weeping tree. Look at I love the architecture of plants. Maybe you do also. But you can see the very clear weeping structure of that, and you can see it in its limbs, all the limbs that come out. And this is a tree you just have to have faith in, really, that it's going to grow vertically at some point, because it's going to want to weep over. You'll think that it's like going to grow onto the ground, when it's little, because it's doing basically that. But then as it grows, it actually, the curve stays, but it just rises up. And there's another one that I planted in this series, which had different nugget phone. Hey, Yam. Nice, foot tall. Yeah, this thing was a foot tall. Started to do its thing now. When it does that kind of meaty tip, it's ready to go. And this one is hit by sprinkler water, and it's had some periods where it's dried out a bit, so it has the leaf thing, but who cares? By the way, these leaves are always dropping and producing great chop and drop return back to the garden, so I love that. Check out this pigeon pea, to switch gears for a sec. I'll go over and show you another. I've got 3 Jamaican cherries growing in the yard now. Nothing like overdoing it. This is a must-have, by the way. If you don't have a pigeon pea in your yard, like I have not had a pigeon pea. Oh, that's so cool. What kind of eggs are those? I wish I could show more. I don't know what kind of eggs that is. It's interesting. A little collection of like 7 eggs laid on that leaf. I find ladybug eggs, they're orange, they're very easy to see all over stuff, especially over these mammoth sunflowers. And these things are like ladybug magnets. You're going to want to have ladybugs in your yard. They also attract ants and stuff too, but not that bad. Mammoth sunflowers. Look at that. It's like the classic sunflower. Oh, there goes the sunflower. I hate to waste this. I hate to waste these. These are like rabbit gold. I've found there's few rabbit likes more than a fresh sunflower petal. Put that in my pocket for later. I'm gonna go over and check out the rabbits. But yeah, this pigeon pea produces tons of fruit, and it's super high protein bean, very nutritious bean. This is a kind of staple food you want to have in your yard if you're looking to be able to feed your family or friends or whatever from food in your yard. You'll want things like this because it provides protein, which you're going to need. You're going to eat everything from your yard. I'm preparing to do a week of just living off food in my yard, and I'll show you about that video later. Tell you about that video later. Not a subscriber already, please subscribe. But let's go look at the Jamaican cherry that I have over here by the construction zone. This one I bought at a nursery, and the reason is, it's a 2 to 3 years old probably, and it's at the point where it can produce fruit. Those ones I showed you over there didn't have any fruit, and they probably won't for a little while. But just again, wanted to give you an example of what it looks like as the beautiful little white flowers happen. It's very fragrant, the tree. I love it. It's very sweet. See, it's loaded with. So this thing will start producing fruit very soon. I mean, it's got fruit set on it. It's just ripening. And the fruit gets about 3 or 4 times that size when it gets full grown. And this is a champion for sure. And it's really going to look good here. It gets bigger. This is my sweet tamarind tree. Finally got in the tamarind game. Just above where people would ever grow tamarind, so it was kind of hard to find it. Found it down on a cool little nursery down in Wabasso, Florida. Stoked. Bought 2. Put one in my front yard, one in my backyard. People probably think that it's a flamboyant tree. Can you see it? I don't know. You want to go back and look at the bunnies? Or not? I think I'll take a couple of these. Yeah. Pick them up so I don't pull the... Yeah, these bunnies are tuckered out. Hey, Penelope. Come get it when you're ready. Oh, Thumper's on board. Thumper, you win the prize. Yes, I can see you're happy about it. You win the prize, my friend. Please produce many more bunny turds for this garden. Down the hatch it goes. Penelope. She loves the sunflower leaves. About feeding time for these guys too. So I'm hungry. Look at how I consume that sunflower leaf. These guys get a steady diet of fresh greens, just like you and I should have. And if you know the channel, you know the system. Into the worm farm. Out comes the worm tea. that manure that's collecting there, just redistributed everywhere. And what I'm finding are worms, small worms, all over the place. Because you're providing them with food. The worms produce all the stuff to really get everything functioning as it needs to, as it normally would, so the roots can absorb all the nutrients. And it's just permaculture, the complete system. Get all the simple systems in place. These are not expensive systems. I mean, those rabbits were $65 a bunny, and that's because they were the fancy lion head bunnies that are good for pets. You could get what they call meat rabbits for like $35 a rabbit bunny. They also make great pets, and they'll produce so much manure. I mean, they are strong producers of nutrients for your yard, those bunnies. High nutrient, and I learned that bunny manure is far more nutritious than cow manure. I mean, it's not hard to compare it. And yeah, so it's really one of the best fertilizers. You could actually use guinea pigs too, I've heard, as a good way to go, but I'd rather go bunny than rodent. Just not hating on the rodents, just saying, not my thing. I like the bunny level. They're so gentle, they really are. Ours have been raised in luxury, let's say. They're getting constant exercise, fed fresh greens all the time. They've been held their whole life, so they're just very gentle, docile, harmless creatures that are so fun, and they're actually starting to really learn some cool tricks. Now we've got chicks. I've got 6 chicks in the garage. By the way, hashtag need a rooster. I think I'm gonna have a rooster for a farm that may want one. Bard Rock. I think I've got a rooster in my flock. But pretty soon I'll have, this yard's gonna transform even more and get even more abundant and lush. And that is by having chickens free ranging around in here. Now to do that, I'll have to, anywhere I'm gonna do vegetable gardens, I'll probably have to fence that off with some chicken wire, no problem. But the yard is just going to thrive from it for sure. I'm going to free range those little chickens as much as I can. They'll have a nice environment. One of the things I plan to do is to have this as a free range pen for the chickens, more or less. There's nothing in there that they can really hurt. The other flip side is to make sure there's nothing in there that can hurt them. But yeah, they'll be able to forage around in this awesome chop and drop universe. Tons of things for them to check out. Now, I've never seen any venomous snakes back in here. It doesn't mean they wouldn't come because the chicks are here. Here are all the animals and birds in my yard. It's crazy. It's always so many. But yeah, look at this. I cleared out these bananas from this area, which was Banana Grove, actually. Oh, now I take it and I recycle it. I created, all of this chop and drop area here, and then you just throw it in place, and it'll kind of break down and naturally compost in place if you get a thick enough layer. It's a great technique. So much abundance that, look at this. I chopped that banana tree, didn't have time to chop off the bananas yet. But yeah, I had my Banana Grove producing about, I'd say, 1 to 2 or so. Pretty good result. I think these are Musa. They're just champions. But the problem is, is this power line. That thing is, yeah, that's the executioner. We don't want to interact with that. So I had to remove. They were just getting too big. I mean, I didn't realize that they would get to be 30 feet tall. And yeah, they're not 30 feet tall for years, but once they get fully going, yeah, you're in. If you are fertilizing them and stuff, I was burying fish back there, so they had nutrients. Yeah, going off. I've thrown in some vegetables in parts of my yard. I can't believe that they're doing well, but they are. And again, I credit the worm tea. Look at that. Those are red radishes. Beautiful, aren't they? And some of them have gotten some bugs. And when the bugs get them, I just kind of let it happen. Can't fight it, really. Too many bugs. I'll where it hasn't. These have gotten a lot of worm tea, and I think that kind of turned the tide. I said just worms like crazy in here. If you lift up these rocks, you'll find little larval worms everywhere. Little baby worms, I should say, not larval. But yeah, look, even red kale going off. Grew all this just from seeds. No. Anybody know what that is? That is a moringa tree. Moringa is another one you're going to want in your yard. Love this. I'm making this a moringa grove, and this is where I'm going to put the chicken coops, so there'll actually be moringa available right up next to it, but also to shade it a little bit, hopefully. Moringa is a great tree to plant in your yard. It's very easy to grow from seed, I realized this year. So I grew a bunch of them from seeds. I went online and I bought a package of moringa seeds that like people would just use to eat, and because you can eat the seeds, you can eat every part of it. They call it the tree of life. So you eat it all. You eat the leaves, you eat the seeds. Very much like I don't know, a bush or something, but it can get to be a fairly large tree, but it'll get very leggy. But you trim it back and just treat it like a forage crop, and that's exactly what I'm doing here with this mulberry. I just chop it back, chop it back, chop it back. It's also a drop-in worm food, by the way. There we go. Nice mulberries. Key to eating a mulberry in the morning, honestly, is just don't spend too much time inspecting them. Yeah, because there's probably some little bugs or whatever in there, usually are in mulberries, and I just chow them down. Eve, what? Your Tommy Atkins didn't bloom this year? That's hard for me to comprehend. How big is it? I'm wondering why that would be the case. If it's very small, maybe you'll have a year where it's throwing out roots and just doesn't give enough energy to produce a flower, I would suspect. But it should be producing almost every year copious amounts of flowers. You got to get some bunny manure on that thing. Plant a fish next to it. Yeah, that's right, EM. Never spend too much time looking at your mulberries. It ruins the experience. It's far better to simply, if you do the quick inspect. You don't want to be popping a spider down your, or maybe you do. I don't want to, no judge. But I don't want to. Yeah, so I chop this thing back and it comes back. An example. I don't know if you've ever done this, and you know already, but just take this little tip here. Everything will eat that. Silkworm will eat it. This is the staple of the silkworm industry. The leaves of the mulberry. Elephants eat them. There's an elephant farm out in Central Florida that feeds their elephants mulberries. We can eat them too. You can make tea out of them, but you can just eat. I like to eat the tips. They taste exactly like a lima bean. Yep, still tastes like lima bean. Full of nutrients. Good for you. It's a vegetable, but it's a tree. And these are incredibly easy to grow. We got a little helicopter heading over. These are incredibly easy to grow from cutting. This one was grown from a cut. And I have several others in the yard that I've grown from cuttings. Also, I've got now Persian mulberries I've added. Got another little pigeon pea. See, I planted them all around, so we're going to have loads of pigeon peas. Chickens will love those too. All right, well, thanks for hopping on Eat Your Backyard. Hope you will join me again. Hope you will hit the like button if you liked this video. Like to see more like it, let me know. Also, if you have ideas for other videos, go ahead and post those in the comments. I greatly appreciate it. If you want to interact with me directly, my email address is in the About tab for the channel, Eat Your Backyard channel. You can send emails there. That's always fun. And of course, have a wonderful day. I hope you get into permaculture this year. I'm certainly glad I did. Certainly glad I did. My yard has become 100% more awesome than it was last year, and I thought it was pretty awesome last year. So it's, yeah, totally stoked. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great day.